Today, TD Bank pled guilty to multiple felonies, including conspiring to violate the Bank Secrecy Act and commit money laundering. TD Bank has also agreed to a $1.8 billion criminal penalty. Combined with civil enforcement actions announced today by other agencies, the United States will be imposing a total of approximately $3 billion against TD Bank. TD Bank created an environment that allowed financial crime to flourish. By making its services convenient for criminals, it became one. Today, TD Bank became the largest bank in U.S. history to plead guilty to Bank Secrecy Act program failures and the first bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering. This is also the largest ever penalty under the Bank Secrecy Act and the first time the Justice Department has assessed a daily fine against a bank. As part of the plea agreement, TD Bank will fundamentally restructure its corporate compliant program at its U.S.-based bank, which is the 10th largest in the United States. The bank has also agreed to the imposition of a 3-year monitorship and a 5-year term of probation. While the bank has started its remediation, it will continue to remediate and improve its anti-money laundering compliance program to ensure that the bank operates lawfully and safely moving forward. In addition to obtaining today's corporate felony pleas, the Justice Department has also prosecuted 24 individuals for their involvement in money laundering schemes that moved over $670 million in illicit funds through TD Bank accounts. So far, the Justice Department has charged 2 TD Bank employees for their involvement in one of these schemes. Pursuant to the plea agreement, TD Bank is required to fully cooperate with the Justice Department's investigation of the bank and any of its officers, directors, and employees. If the bank fails to do so, it will again be subject to criminal prosecution, in which the statement of facts that are part of the plea agreement may be used as evidence against it. Our criminal investigations into individual employees at every level of TD Bank are active and ongoing. As is the case in all corporate criminal matters, no one involved in TD Bank's illegal conduct will be off limits. We will follow the evidence wherever it leads. Federal anti-money laundering laws are designed to prevent criminals from using U.S. banks to fuel their crimes. Our laws dictate that the narcotics traffickers who flood our communities with deadly drugs cannot use American financial institutions to move their money. And our anti-money laundering laws dictate that a bank that willfully fails to protect against criminal schemes is also a criminal. That is what TD Bank was, because it failed to maintain an adequate anti-money laundering program between January 2014 and October 2023. Over a 6-year period, TD Bank failed to monitor $18.3 trillion in customer activity. As TD Bank admitted in its plea agreement, this allowed 3 money laundering networks to transfer over $670 million through TD Bank accounts. At least one of those schemes involved 5 TD Bank employees.
Wow, this was just wow. But hello villagers, welcome back to another video here in Stacy's Random POV. And of course, I need you guys. I inspire that every time you step and see a video in my channel, that it's something that you know you can trust and you can learn from. And baby, do I have a good one for you. But if you guys didn't know, a few days ago, TD Bank was issued a fine of up to almost $4 billion. Now, before I get to the point that I'm trying to make, I have to let you guys know that I am exclusively speaking for myself. I am not here to bring any lies or try to incite the public. Everything I am speaking of is solely my opinion and my opinion only. Now, with that being said, I took the liberty to show you guys my research, as you guys can see on this little snippet on my overlay. So as you guys know, TD Bank failed to submit a form called LCTR, which is a form that allows the government to basically take their cut from everything. From every $10,000 made, the government has a specific cut that they take from that. Apparently, TD Bank was not being forthright and they were not filling out these documents, which is what make them dangerous. I'm sure you guys already know TD Bank is a Canadian bank. It started off Canada first, and then in the early 2000s, they started purchasing entities here in America, allowing them to become TD Bank here, right? Boom. Turns out they were doing that. The forms were being filled up from 2001 all the way to 2013. And since they did not fill those paperwork from 2013 to 2024, boom, that is where the 1.8 billion fine was for, and then another billion they were fined for not doing their job, and another billion was charged for them being dishonest. So now they're saying, oh, okay, so now we're gonna go in there, take over the bank, and do an investigation. They're gonna be under an investigation for 5 years to make sure. Now the government gotta police them to make sure that they're filling this paperwork correctly. No one is going to jail for this, you guys. No one is going to jail because this was not jail worthy. What this was is the government flexing their muscles, in my opinion, to this bank and letting them know, hey, listen, we need a cut. We need a cut, bro. We need a cut of whatever, whoever, we need a cut. Okay? And if they cannot prove that that money was done legally, then that is when they're going to send it to investigations, aka cops got to get involved. All right. So now, and the IRS. Let's not even forget the IRS also need their chicken. So I want to make a big shout out to Big Dino, who literally explained this way better for me. I hope you're able to hear me, and I hope that I made you proud with this video. I've waited all day yesterday hoping that you could join me and give you a 2-piece, because you are amazing, you're smart, and you're a great person. With that being said, you guys know how I do things here. I got together more videos for you guys to enjoy, and let's check it out. What is this mess gonna do? What's gonna happen now? Will they pay off people's credit card? Will they be more strict now? Will they need more paperwork? Well, of course they have to be more strict now because they're screwed. The government have them under a microscope. So with that being said, let's hear what these guys have to say, you guys. And yeah, stick
TD
around.
Bank, the second largest bank in our country, has been hit with a record-breaking fine, huge, over its mishandling of drug cartel money laundering. U.S. regulators have fined TD $3 billion American, which is more than 4 billion Canadian. The U.S. Justice Department saying more than 90% of TD transactions went unmonitored between January of 2018 and April of 2024, which enabled, allegedly, 3 money laundering networks to collectively transfer more than $670 million US through TD accounts. TD, of course, does have a lot of operations in the United States.
I agree, but a simple research wouldn't hurt because it's not from 2018, it's from 2013, sir. But don't worry, there is more. Stick around. Check this out.
They done got TD Bank for money laundering. Telling me TD Bank is the plug? TD Bank money laundering?
I love us so much. It's hard for us to take anything serious because even serious things don't really sound normal. Like,
management and employees admitted to laundering about $670 million at least.
And all I want is $1 million. With $1 million, I will.
They were laundering money for a drug organization reported to be the cartel. Now, since they pleaded guilty, this will limit their growth in the United States. If I was you,
No, I really wish that,
I'm not gonna
one
lie.
of those
A lot of
1 million
banks
showed
do
up
it.
in my bank account when I used to have TD
A lot of
Bank.
banks do it. TD just the ones that got caught. I said it. A lot of banks move money around.
That part right there, a lot of banks. They're not the only banks doing this, you guys. I think that TD Bank is the only bank that got caught doing it with their pants down.
TD is the only ones that just got caught.
If a human being did 1% of what TD Bank did,
And I just have to get back here and say this. He's so right. Imagine if it was just one person doing what TD Bank will do. That one person would definitely be in jail for the rest of their lives. But because this was an entity and a company and a corporation, and a lot of 1%ers are eating off of this. Okay, this is just a little bit bigger than they want to make it seem like, because those numbers are not matching and the activity is not matching either. But hear him out. What he says is really good, really interesting. Yet again, remember, you guys, these are not my videos. Their names are on the snippet itself. Check them out on TikTok. They're amazing. I may not play all of his videos because it's a little long, so check them out yourself, please.
Drug cartels, a fine would be the absolute least of their problems. I know they said it was like a $3 billion fine. I know they said it was the largest of its kind ever in U.S. history. And yeah, that's significant. But if a human being did a fraction of that on a much smaller scale, 50 years mandatory minimum. You know what I'm saying? Federal lockup, jail. You won't see your children like out on the outside ever again. It is a shining example of like upper, like 1% big business corporations, 1% like wealthy, business owners being in an entirely different, not just tax bracket, but like punishment bracket. It's like, oh, you were stealing money? Like lower middle class John, you were stealing money? You're facing 5 to 10 years in federal lockup. Joe Schmo's company, guilty of federal racketeering, $1 billion fine. Oh, that's a lot, right? Yeah, it is, but nobody's seeing jail time. It's a lot different. TD Bank facing a $3 billion fine that won't put them under is a lot different from Joe Schmo facing 10, 15 years. And it's not even that, like, it's not even defending people doing, like, like enabling drug cartel, like, laundering. Like, this isn't Ozark. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, it's a shining example of that. It's more like you're asking, why aren't the TD Bank people being punished more? Why aren't the bosses, like, how is it? It's at minimum, you were aware of it. So if you were aware of it, why is nobody
Again, great guy, great video. I hope it sparks something in you to try to go find and figure out what exactly is going on. And if you do already know what's going on, kudos to you. At this point, I just don't know, you guys. We're going to shit. Is this really what you want your kids to live by, to live with? If so, carry on with your regular programming.
Do you see what's going on with TD Bank? I didn't realize that regular banks that regular people use also dealt with drug cartels. I assumed there were criminal banks that only criminals knew about that did all that cartoon evil stuff. Not a bank that has an ATM I can use.
Oh, honey, you poor thing. Who's going to tell him? Who's going to let him know that majority of the entities are dirty?
Canada's TD Bank is now being fined $4 billion after pleading guilty to a U.S. money laundering case. TD admitted that it allowed 3 money laundering networks to transfer over $920 million through their accounts over a 6-year period. At least one of these schemes involved 5 bank employees laundering drug proceeds, and TD has now become the first bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering.
Who's to say it was only 5 bank employees? Maybe not.
New rule, if you get caught money laundering and you have to pay a $3 billion fine, you also have to pay off my credit card, all of our credit cards. So
preach to the choir.
Now you have to pay
preach
off all
to
of our
the
credit cards
choir.
for free,
I agree.
Is what I've decided. And
they got caught doing something illegal. We shouldn't have to pay our credit
review.
cards. They should be the ones paying our credit cards. Their damn self.
So Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, called a press conference to talk about the fines that he imposed against TD Bank. Why is this important? First, the U.S. government hardly ever goes after banks, so it's a big deal. But his fine that he levied against TD Bank was $1.8 billion. Let me put this in perspective. According to the press release, the government's press release, TD Bank had been helping criminals money launder for about 9 years. If a person does that, they go to prison for a long time. They go to prison for a long time, and the rest of their life is pretty much ruined. They become a convicted felon. They spend a lot of time on supervised release. They are very much controlled by the government, okay? Now, TD Bank, on the other hand, $1.8 billion. What's their market cap? $100 billion. They lost 2% of their total market cap because they were engaged in criminal activity and facilitating more criminal activity, because when criminal organizations find out that they have a bank, a reputable bank they can use to launder money, guess what that does? It encourages them to commit more crime. So Merrick Garland, he called this news conference, but frankly, he should be ashamed. He let them off easy, and they got away with it, and they got away with a lot of stuff, more stuff than a person could ever get away with.
I think he let them get away with it because he might be profiting from this. That's the only explanation I can give for now.
So TD's in a lot of trouble. They just got fined $3 billion for failing to prevent money laundering from drug cartels. It's the largest penalty in the country's Bank Secrecy Act. And this is the worst part. The worst part is not the $3 billion fine. They have an asset cap, which will then limit its growth in the U.S.
Yeah, that means they cannot open any more branches without the permission of the U.S. government and without them being in good standing in the government, blah, 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 blah. But if you guys got this far on the video, don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe, because once you subscribe, you automatically become a member of this village. And you love this village. You appreciate this village because, baby, it takes a village. Now, with that being said, please don't forget to check out this, guys, if you're interested. And don't forget to give me those timestamps. Once you give me the timestamps down below, I'll know exactly what you are talking about. And if you want to continue listening to this guy, click on his name on TikTok and you will find this video as well. I am so happy you guys were here, and I hope you learned something from me, from everything. And like I always say, please love yourself. Love yourself so nobody else has to. We're living in such a weird time, and I just enjoy doing the research for this place, and I want to thank you doing the research for this story specifically. And I want to give another big thank you to Big Dino for helping me out and to explaining this even nicer. So with that being said, again, I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.
The optimum word here is TD Bank didn't get fined. TD Bank customers will be paying that back. Has nothing to do with TD. Welcome to our banking system. There you have it.